Before we begin this incredible story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Epic Story Spot, and hit the notification bell so you never miss one of our daily stories. This one proves how a single act of kindness can change everything. The bus hissed to a stop, and Michael Turner stepped down into the chilly morning air. His jacket was thin against the bite of the wind, but he pulled it tighter around him and pushed forward. Life hadn't been kind lately. At 24, Michael felt older than his years. He worked long shifts as a dishwasher in a small cafe downtown, scrubbing plates until his fingers turned raw, then crashed in his tiny studio apartment with a leaky ceiling. Most nights, he fell asleep with his clothes still on, too tired to care. He'd grown up in foster care, bouncing from house to house until he aged out of the system. He dreamed of more, maybe owning a little bookstore one day, or going back to school to study history, but dreams didn't pay the bills. That morning, he had only a few dollars in his pocket, barely enough for groceries. His stomach growled as he walked past a bakery, the smell of fresh bread drifting out the door. He stopped, just for a moment, to look at the warm loaves stacked in the window. And that's when he noticed it, a black leather wallet, lying on the sidewalk, soaked with rain. Michael glanced around. People hurried past with their umbrellas, too busy to notice. He crouched, picked it up, and flipped it open. Inside was a thick wad of cash, 20s and 50s folded together, more money than he had ever held in his life. At least $500. Maybe more. His heart pounded. Rent was due in 2 days. His fridge was nearly empty. That kind of money could change everything for him. But then he saw something else. Tucked behind the cash was a driver's license. The name read David Whitmore. The photo showed an older man with kind eyes and a gray beard. Michael stood there in the rain, torn between two voices in his head. One whispered, "Keep it. No one will know. You need this more than he does." The other, quieter but steady, "It's not yours. Do the right thing." He swallowed hard, shoving the wallet into his jacket pocket. "I'll figure it out later," he muttered, hurrying down the street. But as he walked away, he couldn't shake the thought. This wallet wasn't just a bundle of cash. It was someone's whole life, their ID, their cards, maybe even their last savings. That night, as rain tapped against his cracked window, Michael sat on his bed with the wallet in his lap. He pulled out the license again and studied the face of David Whitmore. Something about the man's gentle eyes made his stomach twist. Michael whispered, "What if he's looking for this right now? What if he's scared or hungry or worse?" He looked at the money again. His rent, his meals, his survival. And yet, deep down, he knew keeping it would mean losing something far more important than cash. He pulled out his phone and typed the name into a search bar. David Whitmore. Dozens of results popped up. A businessman, a philanthropist, owner of Whitmore Enterprises, one of the largest companies in the city. Michael froze. Could it be the same man? If so, why would someone like that be walking the rainy streets, carrying a wallet stuffed with cash? His pulse quickened. He glanced again at the money, at the ID. It was the same man. He recognized the eyes from a billboard he'd walked past just a few days ago. Michael set the wallet down, suddenly afraid. He was holding the life of a man worth millions. And tomorrow, he'd have to decide, return it, or change his own life forever. Michael barely slept. By morning, his decision weighed heavier than the soaked clothes in his bag. The wallet sat on the table, the crisp bills peeking out like they were taunting him. He ran his fingers across the rose-stitched quilt, the only proof that someone had once cared enough to leave him with something beautiful. He remembered Sister Margaret's words, "The world is wide, but so is your heart." Taking a shaky breath, Michael slipped the wallet back into his jacket. "I'm returning it," he whispered. "No matter what happens." The city was already buzzing when he arrived downtown. He clutched the wallet and walked through the gleaming glass doors of Whitmore Enterprises. The marble lobby stretched high above him, golden chandeliers glittering like stars. Business people hurried past in tailored suits, their polished shoes clicking against the floor. Michael felt small, out of place, in his fraying jacket and scuffed shoes. He approached the reception desk, where a woman in a sharp gray blazer looked up. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone clipped. I think I found something that belongs to Mr. Whitmore," Michael said, holding up the wallet. Her eyes widened slightly. "Wait here." She picked up the phone, whispered something, and within minutes, 2 large security guards approached. Michael's heart skipped. He held the wallet tighter. "What if they think I stole it?" One of the guards gestured. "Follow us." They led him into a private elevator that rose smoothly, higher and higher, until the doors opened into a sunlit office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Behind a massive oak desk sat David Whitmore himself, exactly as he appeared on the billboard. Silver hair, sharp suit, kind but tired eyes. "Come closer," Mr. Whitmore said, his voice deep but warm. Michael stepped forward, feeling his throat tighten. He placed the wallet on the desk. "I found this outside. I thought it was the right thing to bring it back." Mr. Whitmore studied him, then opened the wallet. The cash was untouched. His lips curved into a faint smile. "Do you know how many people would have kept this?" he asked softly. "Why didn't you?" Michael hesitated, searching for words. "Because it's not mine. And I know what it's like to lose everything. I wouldn't wish that on anyone." For a moment, the older man just stared at him. Then he nodded slowly. "Sit down. We need to talk." Hours seemed to pass in a blur. Michael told him about the orphanage, about scrubbing dishes, about the quilt with roses, and the dream of one day owning a bookstore. He hadn't planned to spill his life story, but something about Mr. Whitmore's quiet, patient gaze made the words pour out. When he finished, silence filled the office. Michael shifted nervously. "I should probably go." But Mr. Whitmore raised a hand. "No, stay." He leaned back in his chair, studying the young man with an intensity that made Michael's chest tighten. "You said your name was Michael Turner?" "Yes, sir." Mr. Whitmore opened his desk drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside were papers, neatly stacked. He flipped through them, then pulled out a yellowed file with a name typed across the top. "Carter Eliza." Michael froze. "That's not me," he said quickly. That's my mother's name. She died when I was a baby. I never knew her." Mr. Whitmore's eyes softened, but he didn't speak right away. He slid the folder closer to himself and glanced down at the details. Then, with a trembling hand, he closed it. "We'll talk about this more soon," he said quietly. "For now, I owe you something. Stay in the city. I'll be in touch." Michael left the office dazed, his mind spinning. How did David Whitmore have a file on his mother? What did it mean? That evening, Michael sat in his attic room, staring at the quilt. For the first time, the rose pattern seemed to whisper secrets he couldn't quite hear. He pulled out his sketchbook and began to draw, his pencil moving furiously across the page. He sketched the lobby, the towering office, the folder with his mother's name. His stomach growled. He still had no money for dinner. Returning the wallet hadn't solved his problems. If anything, it had made them worse. Just then his phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "Meet me at the old train station. Midnight. Come alone. DW." Michael's pulse quickened. Midnight. The old station was abandoned, a crumbling relic at the edge of the city. Why would a billionaire want to meet him there, in the dark? Fear battled with curiosity. But something in him, the same something that had told him to press on the rose carving, to unfold the map, to return the wallet, told him to go. If you're still listening, you can probably feel the suspense building. What would you do if you found a wallet full of money? Keep it, or risk everything to return it? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can hear the incredible ending to Michael's story. At midnight, Michael stood in the shadows of the abandoned train station. The once busy platforms were silent now, the tracks rusted and covered in weeds. The great iron clock above the entrance had stopped ticking years ago. A figure appeared from the shadows, Mr. Whitmore. He looked different in the moonlight, older, more fragile. He leaned on a cane, his suit jacket hanging loosely on his frame. "You came," Whitmore said softly. Michael swallowed hard. I don't understand. Why here? Whitmore stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the quilt Michael had wrapped around his shoulders. He reached out a trembling hand, his voice breaking. I know that quilt, he whispered. I've seen it before, many years ago. Michael froze. The night seemed to hold its breath. Why, he asked. Why do you know it? Whitmore's voice shook. Because it belonged to my daughter. Michael's heart stopped. He stared at the older man, the words echoing in his mind. My daughter. What are you saying? Michael whispered. Whitmore's eyes glistened in the moonlight. I think. You're my grandson. Michael's breath caught in his throat. The words seemed unreal, echoing in his mind. I think you're my grandson. He stared at David Whitmore, his heart pounding so loudly he could hardly hear the rain drumming on the broken station roof. What did you just say? He whispered. Whitmore's voice cracked. That quilt. I remember it. My daughter, Eleanor, stitched it when she was just 17. She gave it to her baby the night she disappeared. His hand trembled as he reached out, touching the frayed fabric with reverence. I searched for years. I thought I'd lost you both forever. Michael's head spun. My mom's name was Eleanor Carter. She died when I was a baby. I never knew my father. Are you saying? Whitmore's eyes filled with tears. She was my daughter, which means you're my grandson. Michael, I've been searching for you your whole life. Michael stumbled back a step, his voice breaking. That's impossible. If you knew about me, why didn't you find me sooner? Why did I grow up in foster care? Why was I left with nothing? Whitmore's face crumpled. Because I failed you. I failed your mother. She ran away when she was young, and when I finally tracked her down, it was too late. She was gone, but she left word about you. By the time I found out, the system had already placed you, and I was told you'd been adopted. I never stopped looking. Michael's hand shook as he clutched the quilt. Anger, grief, and hope swirled inside him like a storm. So all this time, you were out there, and I was alone. I'm so sorry, Whitmore said, his voice breaking. If I could trade every dollar I have to give you back those years, I would. But I can't change the past. All I can do is ask for a chance to be part of your future. Michael's vision blurred with tears. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, to run. But another part of him, the part that had guided him to return the wallet, whispered that this was no accident. This meeting was meant to happen. The days that followed were a blur. Whitmore insisted on moving Michael out of the crumbling attic into a small, comfortable apartment. He offered him food, clothes, and even a job. Not washing dishes, but working in the company's archive department. At first, Michael resisted. He didn't want charity. He didn't want to be bought. But Whitmore was patient. He visited often, asking about Michael's sketches, his dreams, his childhood memories. He never pushed, never demanded. One afternoon, Whitmore placed a leather-bound notebook in Michael's hands. This was your mother's, he said softly. She wanted to be a writer, you know. She had such talent. When I read your sketches, I hear her voice. Michael's throat tightened. On the first page was his mother's handwriting, delicate, looping letters that mirrored his own style. Tears blurred his vision as he traced the ink with his fingertips. For the first time in his life, Michael felt connected to something bigger than himself. He wasn't just a nameless orphan anymore. He was part of a family, a story that had begun long before him. Of course, not everyone welcomed him. Newspapers ran headlines. Orphan claims to be Whitmore heir. Reporters camped outside his apartment, shouting questions about money, inheritance, and motives. Some accused him of being a fraud, a scam artist who had tricked an old man. Michael tried to block it out, but the whispers followed him everywhere. At the cafe where he once worked, former coworkers stared, some with envy, some with disbelief. Even Jonas, his only friend at the orphanage, seemed distant. One evening, overwhelmed, Michael stormed into Whitmore's office. I can't do this, he said. They don't believe me. They think I'm using you. Whitmore rose slowly from behind his desk, his cane tapping against the floor. Let them think what they will. The truth is in your heart, Michael. You returned my wallet when you could have walked away with everything. That tells me all I need to know about who you are. Michael clenched his fists, tears burning in his eyes. I don't want your money. I just want to belong somewhere. Whitmore's gaze softened. Then belong here. Not because of the money, but because you're my grandson. Because I love you. The words hit Michael harder than anything before. Love. A word he had always longed to hear. Weeks turned into months. Michael slowly adjusted to his new life. He spent his days cataloging old manuscripts in the Whitmore archives, learning about history, art, and business. In the evenings, he sketched, his drawings growing bolder, more confident. One day, Whitmore invited him to a private study in his mansion. The walls were lined with bookshelves, and on the desk sat the same folder Michael had glimpsed weeks before, the one with his mother's name. Whitmore pushed it toward him. You deserve to know everything, he said. Inside were letters, photographs, and official documents. Photos of his mother as a teenager, smiling in front of the very orphanage where Michael had grown up. A birth certificate with his name, and a letter written in the same looping script as the notebook. Michael unfolded it with trembling hands. My dearest Michael, if you are reading this, it means life has taken me from you too soon. I pray with all my heart that one day my father will find you. He is a good man, despite our mistakes. Trust him, and remember, kindness is the greatest treasure you can ever give. It will always return to you. Michael pressed the letter to his chest, tears streaming down his face. His mother had believed in him. She had loved him, even from afar. The next day, Whitmore made an announcement at a press conference. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. This young man, Whitmore said, resting a hand on Michael's shoulder, is my grandson. His mother was my daughter, Eleanor. I failed her in life, but I will not fail him. Michael is family, and he is my heir. The crowd erupted. Questions flew, but Michael stood tall. For the first time, he wasn't the invisible dishwasher or the forgotten orphan. He was Michael Carter Whitmore, a man with a story worth telling. And he knew exactly what he wanted to do with his new chance. With his inheritance, he didn't buy cars or mansions. Instead, he opened a bookshop cafe, just as he had always dreamed. The shelves were lined with stories, the walls painted with his own art, roses hidden in every corner as a tribute to his mother. Children from the orphanage came every week, curling up with books under the warm glow of lamps. Michael read to them, just as Sister Margaret once read to him. He told them, your story matters. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, your kindness can change the world. And every night, when he closed the cafe, he placed his mother's quilt over his shoulders, knowing he was finally home. Thank you so much for listening to He Returned a Lost Wallet and It Changed His Life. Inspirational story. If this touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to Epic Story Spot, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. We post brand new stories every single day, and the next one could be the one that inspires you.